No matter who you are or what you need, InStation has everything.
Hello, Lawrence. Hello, Internet.
Hi, Mr. Carl.
How are we
Are we
going?
live? Right.
Welcome to Two Risky Rollers, uh, the podcast with the most cast about the Warhams and other things. You may
Mm-hmm.
notice, Internet, that it looks a little bit different. We're
Yes.
trying something a little bit new, aren't we, Lawrence?
Yes, we're trying something new, and thanks to Mr. Carl, of course, for setting this up. So we are on two different locations, obviously on his place and on my place, and then we are just trying to talk something about Warhammer.
Yes, so we're busy people over in Risky Rollers land. The Dalton is obviously doing a lot on the event space. We got Mr. Lawrence here doing a lot. We're doing a lot of playing, and obviously the guys are doing a bit of coaching activities and things overseas. So we
Yeah.
thought just to give you some bit of content, we'd try it a bit of bit of bit podcast style, something different. So let us know, chat, if you are enjoying, if you like this. Obviously, we do this for you guys. So uh, thank you, Patreons and the subscribers on the YouTube lands. Click the buttons, press the notification icon. That really helps us out and lets us do this and bring you our events and cover events for you. Thank you to obviously we have some sponsors. So
Sponsors.
Baron of Dice, we have Proxywars, we have Dice Arcade up in New South Wales for hobby gear, we have General Games down here in Victoria, and Miniatures Scenery. Waggers over there helps us with our terrain and things for our events.
Yep.
How are you going, Lawrence?
I'm good. Pretty exhausted after our, just the last weekend 2 days teams event at the gaming arena, wherein we actually both of us fielded two teams. It's very exciting, very nice event, very fun one, and it's obviously very exhausting. So,
Yeah,
but it was good.
we'll have a bit of a chat about that in a
Mm-hmm.
sec, actually. So probably we got a couple of topics we wanted to cover off this evening. We'll have a bit of a chat for an hour or so tonight. If you're got any questions, please feel free to drop it in
Yeah,
the chat. We'll jump in and we want to have a bit of a chat with you guys as well. So
yeah. Talk to us, uh, Carl. According to Mr. Dalton, our audio is a bit quiet, so let's see if we can pop out some of that volume. So Mr. D
okay,
can hear us.
how's all right,
How about that, Mr. Dalton? Can you hear us properly?
all right. Can you hear us, Dalton? There we go. That should have
All right.
fixed it a little bit.
Yeah, it's like what Carl said. So if you're in the chat, just talk to us, and then yeah, we'll try to, of course, entertain you guys. If you have question, we'll try to answer. And then yeah, just promote obviously the Warhammer 40K, especially here in Victoria. So there are a couple of organizers here, not just us. The Ratton Boys. I know their tickets are already full for the August event. Is that correct, Carl?
Yes. Oh well, I don't. Good question, actually. Maybe the guys, Lachlan and the guys are hanging around tonight. Maybe if they drop in, they can let us know. But I know that
Hmm.
they're getting really keen. They're getting excited, which is nice. They're thinking about their packs. The guys are talking about how they're going to manage their Prior Nexus stuff on the weekend. So, which is new for all event holders, trying to work out the best way to do your maps and your which
Hmm.
layouts to use and um, which GW missions out of the new mission companion to use. I saw a couple of highs.
Yep.
Hey,
Hi, Mr. Thomas.
Hello, sir.
Mr. Osbox. Who's Mr. Osbox? He was there, but we don't know your name, so we can't say your name. So tell us
Was
your name, Mr. Osbox.
was a fun event. Were
Mm.
you at the event on the weekend, Osbox? Let us know.
It was good. It's a 12 teams event, bro. So 5-man, 12 teams event. So well done, Mr. Diffie.
Speaking of events,
Mm.
let's kind of get onto our first little topic. So obviously we have some events. So this is a
Yes.
shameless plug. If you haven't seen the Risky Rollers website before, go and check it out. It has all of our events, tickets, purchasing, and gear on it, and some information about things that we've got going on, and you can go here to get tickets. So first event here we've got is the teams tournament coming up. So that is the 21st to 22nd of September over at the Manningham Hotel and Club in Bulleen. It's a great event. It was where the Risky Rollers Open was last year. So if you were at that event, you know the place. Nice and big. We can spread out for the teams tournament. So get in on that one there. I think we've got a Dalton might have a Blood Bowl tournament coming up. It's in October, but those tickets aren't out yet. I'm sure if you jump into Discord and check that out, he'll let us.
So before that,
know.
Carl, also I would want also to plug. I think our last Blood Bowl event happened in Churnside. So it was the June 29th. Yes, June 29th. It was a Saturday in Churnside, GG. Like there are also it was also sold out, but then in the end it was like 30 players. So big turnout as well. So thank you very much, guys, for supporting us. And then so I believe it's October again. But the venue yet to confirm by Mr. D for the October Blood Bowl.
While you're going, you want to talk about the Open?
Yeah, so obviously we wanted everybody to come. That would be the first 3-day event here in Victoria. Again, it's in Manningham Hotel. That's on November 2, 3, and 4. So yeah, just check out our website, and then there you can buy in your tickets. So yeah, it should be fun because I know we would also have some side events like I think we are preparing some speed painting competition. So if you're not keen in playing, then maybe you're keen in painting. So we have some nice surprises over there, and then obviously, just to improve the 40K community here in Victoria. So come and support.
Yeah, we Osbox. So Matt, hi Matt, guard player on rock out with your clock out, I believe. That he was
yes.
on that team. So yeah.
Oh, we played them on the first round. I think it was Adam who played him. Welcome, Mr. Matt.
Hey, going Andy.
And Andy, it was a pretty great event. One of my favorite in close games was against
Andy,
Carl.
Andy, are you the fairy? Are you my Space Wolves opponent, Andy?
Yes.
That was a good game. Nice and close. Love a good close game.
Mr. Andy.
But
Space Wolves,
some very lovely painted Space Wolves, a nicely themed army there, and it was always good to have some nice opponents. It's a long weekend when you're playing teams. So
yeah.
All right. Anything else for the club you want to plug?
Yes. So I believe we have a new schedule of our club day. So now we are changing from a Sunday to a Saturday. I think we would also be announcing that one on our Discord once the booking is confirmed. But the first one would be, I believe, after this July is August the 7th. Just making sure that I won't have a mistake again. Give me a second. No, that would be August 10th is the first club day next month. So yeah, but we would post the confirmed schedule via our Discord and then obviously in our Facebook event page as well.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah, just join us if you're keen to just to play and then hang out with the boys and maybe drink some beers.
Yeah, nice. Well, speaking of the event, do you want to let's have a closer look? So we did something a bit different this time. Normally, we like if somebody else has got a team events going, we like to send a Risky Rollers squad from the club to hang out. But we managed to get get two teams, two squads going
Mhm.
with the help of the East Melbourne Ravens
Yes.
club from over in Ringwood Way, and so we had two mixed teams, which was really good. I had a lot of fun.
Yep.
The guys were really keen to play, and we came collectively. We were the syndicate team here, as you can see, and we collectively came 5th and 6th on tiebreakers.
No, because I think we were second and third going into the last round,
Yep.
and then both of us just knock out each other.
Yep.
Via the draw.
Yep. So this is the gaming arena in Coburg North here in Victoria, Melbourne. Diffie runs that. If you're part of any of the Victorian scene, he's got a purpose-built place down in Coburg where he can field quite a large tournament. We had the Australian Team Championships there earlier in the year, and that was great. So it's good to get a big one of their big first teams events going for them. So I think it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
So yeah, we both of our teams went 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss.
And a loss, yes.
So not bad. And as you can see, chat, it was very close up the top. It ended up coming down to
the tiebreakers,
battle point tiebreaker, which and I think between 2nd and 5th there was between the 5 of us, I think it was 30 battle points, something like that.
Difference.
So it was really close. So what were your highlights, Lawrence?
My highlights was obviously the difficult games that I play was against Dylan of Blood Angels, who are the eventual winners, obviously. And then I, of course, played you.
Yes.
Right, on the last round.
We played off.
Wherein you have 4 Catans. And then one of my highlights was it when I played, not Dylan. Is it the Chaos Knights? Wherein I think 6 of my Chaos Knights exploded, which is awesome. I think Knight Explosion is very good because I prop leadership check, right? If any enemy unit is within 12 of me, so any damage dealt is actually good for me because on your command phase leadership check, then I'm always also using the stratagem Terror of Shades because I would gain some wound count as well. But yeah, what else? I think I had fun. Obviously, the first one was with you, Titchener. He played demons. That one is he admittedly they mismatched the pairings over there. So yeah, I think the problem with Chaos Demons was they can't really kill knights.
Mm-hmm.
So a bit of an easy game. And then I believe my second was the CK. Yeah. CK Mirror. So that was 12 versus 13. Because I ran just full War Dogs, 13 of them. And then it's just like a game of, positioning. And then, so third was Dylan. Fourth game was, what was my fourth game? I already forgot. Oh, Space Wolf from Dawn.
Yes, I too played Dawn. Dawn was great.
Yep. And then you teacher said Ed was very lucky to dodge me. Round 1, not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there was
Yes. I didn't say easy I didn't say easy.
Yeah, I think so. What was our run? So I had who was my first game? We'll go backwards.
Your first game was the
Chaos. So was Long War, Chaos Space Marines Long War, the Tasmanian rep. So really good game. Great guy. And it was good to see the Tassie guys come over for the event, which is nice. Awesome. It'd be nice to get out to their stuff. But it's obviously a little bit harder for us given that, we've got our events and things as well. But hopefully we'll get out to some more events, in some of the others.
Very good.
But so I had, and then we had Don's team. So that was so that was Good Games Frankston Gladiators. So that's
Yeah, GGF.
so that was a good game as well. The Space Wolves. So he was playing Gladius.
Yeah, Gladius
and
Studios.
you know, Gladius is just so good. And you'll see when we get to the bit of a spoiler for later on in the discussion, but obviously we're talking about WTC and there's a lot of Space Marines. Gladius is still very good. And you know, the Wolfen still hit, and they can still get pretty close to killing a Catan if you roll really bad, like I tend to do sometimes. But that was really fun. So, and then we had Model Citizens. So I had Andy from Model Citizens. So I had Space Wolves. I had back-to-back Space Wolves. And Andy's list was Stormlance, so more Wolf Jail style.
Yeah.
You know, with big bricks of Thunderwolf. And that was good. He managed to get some. Good learning from that game for me is practicing my screening a bit better. He got some. I let him get some really good charges off with some of those Thunderwolf. So, and then fourth game was against Ben from
But that was the third game.
Advanced Action. So they won. That was that was first round of day 2.
Mm-hmm.
And safe to say, chat gave me a bit of a clobbering. So that was quite a fun game. Not a great point scoring game. I didn't do well for the team in that one, but I think we had, you know, a Catan and 3 War Dogs explode in like succession, and at one point one explosion killed another one, and then that one exploded, and it was, I think at one point we did more deadly demise damage than we actually did in combat, so that was quite fun. So Ben's a great sport. I enjoy playing Ben, so that wasn't so bad taking the loss there. But and then yes, as Laurence put, our last game was against each other. So you know, it's it's quite fun having a, you know, bit of a laugh and a nice warm down to the weekend. Very close game.
Very close round as well.
Very close round. And so that was a draw, which kind of, in the end, probably ruined both of their runs. We took each other down.
But yeah, I mean, it's still good because, you know, at least the level of competition, especially from that second to, I think, I didn't even know what's the record of the 7 team, but at least 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they are at least effectively, you know, 2 losses as everything, right?
Yep.
Because double draw is considered a loss. So yeah, mostly are just at least 2 losses. But yeah,
Yep.
I think great results. Now it's really just a matter of, I think, because going also to that event, right? It's just like a testing of the waters where it comes to what's the actual scoring for Pariah, right? Especially in teams. And then
Pariah.
I think we are, you know, like it's a witness that it's really very close. Games are always close, except obviously from the top team where in there are actually just smashing everybody. So, but yeah, it's good. I think it's good for the meta that, you know, like, you know, this type of games. I'm not even sure if you were able to use a secret mission, but yeah, even without using secret mission, I think everything was, you know, like, it just always like up and down here and there. So
yeah,
exciting.
I tried to play Secret Mission twice actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I was taking Hypercrypt Necrons, but I
Mm.
was taking the Monster Mash variety. So I stole that idea from a list that I'd seen at one of the UK super majors that did well. That had a Tesseract Vault in it as well. So, but WTC terrain, it's a little bit harder to fit the Tesseract Vault. So I thought, oh, we'll put Wraiths back in and we'll put it a Doomsday Arc and we'll kind of play it out like that. And it was really fun. But yeah, so I did Secret Mission twice because I built it in. So I built it in, and obviously with Hypercrypt, you can 3-inch Deep Strike, so it makes that a little bit easier. You put it,
Yep.
you know, you take the Warlord one, you put the Warlord on their home objective, and but it won. I used it in one game, in my first game, and
Hmm.
then I tried to use it against Ben, but he didn't let me. He was a party pooper.
He's a bit smarter.
It was a bit far gone by then. So,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, so just some of the individual players. Um, Blood Angels did really well again.
Mm.
There was three Blood Angels lists for the weekend. Um, Jordan did great on his Imperial Knights. Reese smacks people around with his sisters,
Yeah.
which was great.
Yep.
Obviously, then Ben, he's there. Adam was there on Dark Angels on your team. Adam Camilleri
Yep.
from
Yep.
Art of War Down Under. He, he was showing too that um, you can play Dark Angels and you can play Deathwing Knights,
Mm.
and you can do really well with them. They're tough, they're hard to kill. You can be aggressive, and that goes really well. Um, some guards, some world eaters, Stewie on his
Yep.
Grey Knights. Kyle did really well. So Kyle was playing on my team on Syndicate.
Drukari, yeah.
Drakari. He had a very teams orientated specific list, uh,
Mm.
and utilizing beast packs for screening
Mm.
and pinning people down. He was team captain, so he did. They did very well. The other guys
Yep.
on the weekend, and yes, so as you can see, like by the factions up the top here, you know, Blood Angels, Armor Stat Check, Dark Angels, Space Marines do really well. World Eaters here and there when you can get them some good picks matchups.
Yeah. Yep.
Pairings in Pro Nexus is hard, man. I don't know how you guys went with your Matrix and stuff, but doing ours was
So our first two rounds was like we've actually just like predicted which faction or which who would be the first drop from our opponent. So basically like we were able to actually anticipate. Like for the first round against you Titchener's team, like we purposely also wanted the AdMech mirror.
yep.
So it's actually kind of fun, but as you said, it's a bit difficult. Like on your team, to be honest, actually, yeah. And sorry for Alex because Alex, our CSM player, he was always the put up, and then he's just absorbing all whatever bad matchup that we have, and then try to capitalize on the other pairings. But when we paired you, actually, I believe it was Alex again, right? So what? Because what we wanted from your team was Kyle to be paired against me, so instead of actually Ed being put up as the second defender, I should have been the put up. So at least I would be able to catch Kyle. But then I just realized that after the game already. So I said, okay, next time I'll catch Kyle. So Kyle, watch out for us.
Well, yeah, he doesn't mind. He had a win against
The CK.
Chaos Knights
Yeah.
earlier in the weekend. So
Mm.
so we didn't mind that
Mm.
too much.
Yeah, but yeah, pairing of course is fun. Playing on a team is fun, and then of course hanging out and then playing games with your friends is awesome.
Yep.
So I enjoyed it a lot. So more teams events. So
Yeah, and you're preparing to go over to Belgium soon, and you're participating
yes,
in the War Master. So
yeah,
500 players.
500. I think it's 502 to be exact. Oh my
Yep.
god, lots of 40K players. So I don't know how to handle all the beers over there.
Lots of lots of a third of the players are French
Yeah, I
when they
think
can just
French
drive
and
over the border.
Belgians. Yeah,
Yeah,
French
French
and
and
Belgians.
Belgians.
Yeah.
Just driving over the border there, and then it's kind of funny because it's then very spread. Obviously,
Yeah.
500 players, and there's how many ever countries going. There's you're gonna have a bit of a
Mm.
split, right? So, but the yeah, what do you think you're gonna see? I think looking at the factions for the teams events, I think you're still going to
Mm.
see a lot of the
Yeah, almost probably similar to what they are bringing,
yeah,
right?
lots
So
of Blood Angels, lots of
yeah, lots of BA.
Necrons.
GK, Tisan sisters.
Yep, all
But
still
of
really
course,
strong.
I think some of those players in the teams, right? Most likely they won't be running the exact list that they are playing in
Mm.
the teams. At least they won't be scouted. But yeah, because I think War Masters is somehow a practice for some people in the teams. But yeah, it depends. Like, but because for us, like I'm part of the coaching stuff, right? So I'm just there, of course, to support the team. And then obviously, since I'm there, why not play in the War Master? So
Yeah, I
that's the
mean,
goal.
it's
So
how often are you going to
play the
do it,
War
right?
Master. Yeah,
Like
right.
you don't know what's happening next year. Like you know, this is it's an opportunity. You know, a super major this size doesn't happen
Yeah,
in Australia, right? So
that's correct.
um, so being able to go over and actually participate and play with all those different people, and it's
Mm.
7 rounds, 6 rounds,
Uh, as per the player pack, it's 3 days of 9 rounds.
nine
So
rounds.
I think after day two, there's your cutoff already, and then obviously if you're not part, then you can't go with round seven, eight, and nine anymore. But
Yep.
yeah,
Do you know if they
it's
do? Do you know if they do a shadow round?
I'm not sure because I so far I didn't read the player pack. But yeah,
Um,
only I saw was it's like 3 days, 9 rounds. So that's I think from August what 4, 5, 6? Yeah, 4, 5, 6. No, I'm not even sure. You see?
yep. And what do you want to get out of it?
Well, because initially, right, when I was preparing myself, what faction should I play? I want to play Custodes because obviously first it's one of my favorite faction apart from the Imperial Knights, and then they are very easy to transport. And then I was like practicing after the 10.5 drop, right? And then I actually wanted to play them for the teams, but I'm really not impressed with them in terms of the pariah secondaries. I mean, like they're very good.
Mm-hmm.
They can kill. They're very fast, especially if you run the at least 2 by 6 or 3 by 3 Venetari. They're very good, but in terms of secondary scoring, I'm not really impressed. So I tried CK. So I'm bringing the CK. I'm bringing the dogs to Belgium,
You work out how
and
you
then
put it on
obviously
the. Have you worked out how you're putting it on the plane yet?
I haven't solved that problem yet. So I have at least 2 weeks to find ways on how to effectively carry them and then make sure that they are not broken once we reach Belgium. But yeah, so obviously my intention was to, of course, do my best and then, of course, have fun and then exchange dice, exchange T-shirt, and make friends. That's the goal of the participation in War Masters.
You yeah, you gotta find like um some people that so you can swap the same size shirt
Yeah,
with. Uh,
that's a bit difficult.
might be a little bit difficult. Um, but no, it should be fun. And the I was uh the the broadcasters for the European broadcasters for the event were chatting. There was a video. I'll have to find it while I'm chatting just so I can give them a shout out. That Finn from New Zealand, the captain of New Zealand, and
Mm.
Dean did a round zero discussion on, and yeah,
Yeah, I
they were.
think I saw him earlier also in the Stat Check podcast as well. So they were discussing about WTC. Yeah, so I saw Finn.
Yep, they they had they were talking about like some teams that let their players play in the War Master versus not playing in the War Master to like hide tech or that kind of stuff. Do you have a
Mm.
take on that?
Oh, sorry.
Contact Lost. So check out Contact
Mm.
Lost on YouTube, and they have some great WTC coverage. So um, yeah, the two captains were on, and they talked about whether they let the players play. And
Mm.
Dean kind of said the same thing that you did, is that uh, you need to take the opportunity while you're going over there, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and Finn also said, it's better to have the practice
Correct.
and get the reps in
Yeah.
than what you lose from giving up your tech, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So do you know
Yeah.
if many of the other guys are playing in the Warmaster as well?
Yeah, I believe so because like in our own chat group, like we were encouraged to buy War Master's ticket. So as far as I know, yeah, four of us coaches would definitely be playing, and then obviously the main players. So I'm not sure, but I think yeah, some of them obviously would still try to get some rounds to at least of course practice, and then yeah, but definitely they also need to really be prepared, especially on our first pod. So I know they're working very hard now doing all the list analysis of our first pod and then some pairing matrices and then yeah it would be actually exciting. So even for our pod I'm also very excited for Team Australia already.
Well, speaking of the pod, um, this is what the pods look like
All right.
if you haven't seen that. So our pod is pod 6. Our pod Australia. Our pod. Your pod
Our
is
pod.
pod 6.
It's Team Aussie. Our
Um,
pod. All our pod.
Italy, Norway, Malta, and
Yep.
Australia. What do you think?
So I'm not really sure, but I think we should be fine. I don't want to sound arrogant, but yeah, I think they're well prepared for our pod. Yeah, so we should be fine. I think so. Obviously, the sort of target obviously is to really be prepared and then just do whatever is the plan, and then we should come out okay.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job of spreading the countries across
Like
the
the
pods.
yes, correct. The what do you call this one? The higher seeded one are
Yep.
spread throughout all these pods. And then I only think if you would see pod 10, I think that's a difficult round for both Belgium and Germany because these two teams are very good. So let's see who would come out of this pod 10. And then the rest, I even was listening to a podcast earlier from Pumba. So like in WTC pod 8. So because like there are so many countries which are actually new this time. So it's actually good for them and exciting as well, of course, for their 40K team. But like having Poland in Canada, like this Singapore Thai team, and then I'm not sure about Latvia, but then like Singapore Thai team is a new team, so I think they would have very difficulty like playing this Poland and Canada. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah, Canada's no pushover, right? So,
yeah, I
um,
think Iskari is playing right.
mm, yeah. Um, so yeah, and then Switzerland and Spain, New Zealand drew. So our mates across the ditch drew Israel, Mexico, and Austria.
Yeah,
So uh, that should be
so I
interesting
think
for them.
they should also be finding their pod.
Yep,
So maybe the main competition there would be Austria. I'm
yep,
not sure, but that's how I see it.
yeah. England drew Ireland, South Africa, and China. So
So England also would be in a very good spot over there.
and who else have we got? So USA have Slovakia, Romania, and Greece. So you would
Mm.
imagine that they should get through that pod
Yep,
um,
pretty easily.
pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's no UN team
Yep.
this year. There's no mixed team, which is interesting.
Yeah, but overall, I think 10 by 4. So 40 nations this time. So it's really, like it just keeps on growing and growing. So maybe next year, like those combined countries like of this Singapore, Thailand, maybe they can send their own team. So for those Singaporean there, maybe you can invite me. So no, just just kidding.
uh, yeah. So yeah, chat. If you've got any questions at all, we are keeping an eye on chat. If you
Yep, if
wanted
you
to
have
had any question,
something.
if you had a question about the stuff that we're not talking about, we're probably happy enough to answer that one as well.
Yeah, of course.
So I know some of the other guys are getting ready for our team's event, which is interesting. They're talking about
Yeah. Yeah, and
taking
that's
that.
also exciting. So that would be on the September 21st and 22, right? So
Yep.
I haven't actually finalized the missions yet. And then yeah, I'm also not sure whether or not we should be following the GW, wherein you would just like announce your mission on the day. So I still have to decide on that, but I'm really not a fan of that. Maybe after the list submission, then you can put in the mission pack already. I
Mm.
think that's the way to go. But yeah, I still have to discuss those things with Dalton as well.
So we've got another slide here that talks a little bit towards some of the faction selection. So this is from StatCheck, and it's a little bit small, chat. I'm sorry. We'll get better
Yeah,
at this
we,
as we go.
I think
But we
we
can
just
talk.
screen captured that one from some other podcast.
We can talk a little bit about what's on this, because I've got it here in my handy dandy phone and I can zoom in. Safe to say that everybody has. So the two outliners here that's probably worth touching on. Everybody has Space Marines,
Marines, yep.
and the vast majority of them are Blood Angels.
Yeah. So
Lots of.
is it either a version of BA and Space Wolves? Yeah.
So yeah, so if I quickly look down the list, they're majoritively Sons of Sanguinius. There's some DA Gladius. There's quite a few.
There's Dark
DA,
Ages and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, there's quite a few DA Gladius. There's and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 Stormland Space Wolves.
All right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
no
BA is
Gladius
like
Space
what,
Wolves.
75%?
Oh, more than that. More than that. I had a practice game with my Blood Angels just because I was feeling a bit rusty the other night. It's just dumb slaps. Like if you can't screen and you don't have something like Fight on Death or Fights First.
Yeah.
It can be really nasty. There's not a lot that they can't pick up with those Death Company bricks. So
Death Companies,
very
yes.
aggressive, and and I'm sure we're not telling the teams anything that they don't know already, but seems like that's a faction that you need to have a plan to deal with.
Yep.
And then we've got lots of Thousand Suns. I think
Thousand Suns is next. 32 players.
Yeah,
32 teams.
Thousand Suns, still even after the points nerf from the data slate, are still
Popular.
arguably one of the best teams' armies.
Yeah.
They still poop out damage quite violently.
Violently.
There's not very many armies that that can live through that output of Doom Bolts and Flamers and Mortal Wounds and that kind of thing. The Mutalist, the what's the unit called? Lawrence, help me out.
Which one? Which one?
Mutalith, the Vortex Beast.
The big one, the Vortex something is whatever. The Beast.
The Vortex Beast. It's come back in fashion. We saw a few of them on the weekend.
Last weekend, yes.
Event. It's a good model, and it's surprisingly tanky. So yeah, they're doing really well. You're seeing less and less variety out. I haven't seen a Terminators variant of that. It tends to be Rubrics,
just
Magnus,
Rubrics spam, yes, Magnus,
Cultists, the occasional Zangors, and some Spawn sometimes.
Yeah,
and
that's correct.
And whether you want Vortex Beasts or whether you take something else. And then we go through to the new Sisters.
Sisters as well. So many Bringers of Flame.
Apparently Bringers of Flame is popular, Lawrence.
Yep.
Can you explain why Bringers of Flame is popular?
Because this is also like we were witness also last week, and we're in like we have what 5, 6 sisters, and then all of them are also Bringers of Flame. Because Bringers of Flame, this I believe is the advance and shoot. They are very fast, and then I know they also have the reactive move, especially those. Is it the Seraphim or the Zephyrim? Wherein then they can move, shoot, move as well, steal, and then just gazillion of damage, and then so.
Yeah,
that's why sisters are still always there.
Yeah, the Dominion squad is still the Dominion squad is still one of the best units in the game in competitive
Mm.
40k for what they do and what they get. Like definitely in top 10. So lots of them. So they're probably the three armies. Well,
Including GK. I think you could say GK as
so
well because these are.
GK, yeah, GK is a very good scoring option. And I think you can probably there's two types of scoring options. So those first three factions kind of cover off what most countries are going to um, for high scoring aggressive lists,
Mm.
right? So and most of them you can see that the ones that take them, most of them are taking all three. And
Yep.
then you need like solid scoring options after that, right? So the next
Yep.
tranche that you kind of look at, you've got your Necrons, you've got your Grey Knights, and then
Yep.
you've got your Tau,
Tau.
right?
Yes.
So that's kind of the next tranche of three popular picks. You've
Mm.
got a GK, you got no option.
He's
You're
still
playing up with
there.
the
Yep.
ante, right? And they just have efficient. Their models just have efficient rules. They're not the cheapest. They're not the best, but
Yep.
they're just all the bodies have 2-ups. They all go up and down. They all deep strike.
Yep.
Strikes as a unit, as a solid unit, has 2
Yep.
OC. It plays very well into the secret missions, right?
Right.
Because
Yep.
they're battle line. So they're very, very solid, and you're still seeing a few varieties in terms of a few Terminators, a few strike squads, some purgation squads, whether or not you take a librarian, whether you take 3, 4 dread knights.
Dreadnoughts. Yeah. Dread Knights.
So but yeah, very solid option, very popular pick. And then you got Necrons, and the vast majority of so Canoptic Court have definitely
Yeah. They.
fallen out of favor.
Mm. To Hypercrypt.
Yeah, to Hypercrypt, much more just body control and mobility type lists.
Yeah.
Now, whether you take the Monolith plus Immortals, in a Catan type style, or whether you take some Warriors, or you take some Doomsday arcs,
Ah.
arcs, or whether or not you take the Tesseract and the Catan, just they've got the mobility in the same way that the Gronuts do on Hypercrypt.
Mm. Yep.
And they don't necessarily have the output, but they're very good at playing the secret mission. They're very good at playing secondary. Depending on how you tech, they're very good at playing primary. So that is doesn't surprise me still to see that Necrons are
It's
still
still.
dominating the top 5 picks.
Yep.
And then you got a bit more of a spread. Now this is where it spreads out, starts thinning out a little bit in the middle here. We then got Tau, and Tau kind of
Yeah.
then
Those are mixed already for Tau. They all have their representation for both Monka, Koyon, and then the Red Cad. So
yeah, I can
pretty even Stevens over there.
Monkar and Retaliation Cadre don't surprise me. Kalyan surprises me though.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At least 5 or 6 Koyon. Koyon, I think because of the sustained hits. I think because yeah, sometimes the problem with Tau, according to Ed, is like there's no real output of damage, and then obviously you can get that efficiency if you have sustained hits.
Hmm.
And then Monga is advance and shoot, but also that's just first 2 3 rounds. And then of course if your opponent, okay, you can advance and shoot. I'll just try my best to hide first 2 rounds, and then yeah, let's face on the third round, and then accept your advance and shoot. But then after that, you're gone. Then the red card, yeah, you can be so flexible with your this has the 3 inches deep strike as well, right?
Mm.
But then, yeah, if your opponent is also good in screening, then effectively it would be, a bit difficult as well. So, but yeah, but at least it's nice for Tao. They have those three, detachment which are being seen. So
Yep.
at least you have so many options as well with for Tao.
Um, the and we got half the field of countries taking a Eldari variety, um,
Mm-hmm.
and sorry, a craft world variety.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably 2/3 of them, by the looks of it, are Yanari. So where they've
Yep.
taken Yvrain as the warlord, so that they get access to Drukhari units. Um,
Yep.
it tends to be the most popular at the moment. So you can take Mandrake, Scourge, or Ravengers. Is the kind of the popular ones, and sometimes you chuck some Cabalites in there because they're unfortunately better battle line than
Yeah.
than Guardians and Storm Guardians. So um, that's not surprising, but they're still winning singles events.
Yeah. They're so good.
Yeah, go wide MSU style Eldar Warp Spiders are still awesome. Avatar is still awesome.
And then this
Bright
is it
Lancers.
also the Ivrain type wherein she's carrying those 10 Harley Quinns as well, right?
Sometimes you don't tend to see it as much,
Ah, okay.
and you see it probably less in. I see it
In
less when
teams.
looking at lists in teams lists,
In
just
teams,
because
okay.
it doesn't tend to. You don't tend to play that role with Eldar. They can, if you take that one and you want to play a little bit more aggressive with your avatar and stuff. But
Mm.
one of the problems Eldar have is OC for holding primary. Um, very, they have most of the units have very low OC. So you
Yeah,
tend to
okay.
be using like the avatar and things to be kind of as OC. Troops only have one OC, so yeah, they can have a bit of a. You tend to play him because of that. You tend to play him a little bit more shooty, a little bit more defensive.
Yep.
So yeah, and then you've got some nids, almost the same. And if it's kind of funny if you're not many people are taking Eldar and nids. We're kind
Yep.
of getting to the end of the lists where the countries have to make the choice between
Oh, bit
um,
yes.
like what they fill out the rest of the stuff with. Like they've kind of taken
Yeah.
the popular choices and they've got their strategy down pat, and then they're kind of looking at what do our players, what can our players play, what do we think are going to fit that role,
Yep.
especially in the eights format. And some are picking Eldar, Yunari, some are picking Tyranids, and these are a mix between Synaptic, Invasion, Crusher, Vanguard, Onslaught,
Mm.
um, Invasion. So they're kind of still spread, um, still spread across the detachments of the codex, even in a teams format, um,
Yep.
which is I find interesting. Um, there's a lot of different ways you can build it depending on um, what role you want the Tyranids to play, whether you want them to kind of be a little bit more monstery, a little bit more
Yep.
shooty, or do you want them to be swarm? Do you want, 2 units of gargoyles and gaunts and,
Yep.
a little bit more carpet? They did get the nerf,
That they can only bring back the
the
stratagem
lists
of
that we
the
saw,
resurrection. Yep.
yeah, the
It's
list that we
gone already.
saw at
Yep.
ATC uh, tend to be a little bit less favoured just because they can't continually resurrect
Yep.
from the data slate nerf change, where you can't resurrect, you can't play the strat more than once. So um, that's going to hurt them a little bit. But yeah, you can still see from the selection there that they're being picked as an option. Um, CSM. So I would have thought that you would see a little bit more CSM than this. What do you think?
No, I think right. So like even from our experience, right? Yeah, we thought CSM would be somehow be a bit very relevant, but then you see like even in the teams event last weekend, there are a couple of CSM, but they didn't actually perform very well. So maybe because of the maybe I would say the secondary or the missions or the setup of or the layout of the what do you call this one? The deployment. Because like for CSM, if they go first, I think it's very bad for them. Like the renegade style, so they always wanted to be second. And then like for the experience so far, like Alex, right? So all of his 5 games, he went first. And then obviously, as I've said, the mission for him was to actually tank most of the difficult lists that we would face. And then yeah, so that's why I'm not surprised that they are not very well represented. So and then as you can see, Renegade Raiders is still the like the most the detachment that is most represented. But yeah, we don't know the list. Maybe
Mm.
these things have like because yeah, they also nerfed the warp talents. So I'm not sure how would be the playstyle already for the Renegades.
Yeah, it's in playing it a few times now, it still hurts. They
Mm,
like MSU legionaries with a lord.
yeah,
The lord gets a once per turn extra damage and dev wounds. It
that
can
one's still yes, that's
it,
still awesome.
it can hurt. Putting two vindicators with um, dark pacting for sustained hits
Sustain
is
and
awesome
mm,
on that profile, on the demolisher profile. So if you're caught unawares and you don't know how to you don't have a strategy for it, it can still do a lot of damage. But obviously, um, there must be kind of a set style. There's not a lot of currency in the other detachments. Um, Shout out to Packbound Zealots.
yeah.
One of our
Is
one of
it
our
Gerald?
club
Yeah.
mates, yeah, Jared, played Packbound Zealots with the 3 cursed cultists. By all accounts, did very well with it.
Mm,
So depending on what you need for the teams event, that list does exist, and it does
yeah.
pretty good. But when you look back and you're like, well, I can take Gladius, Sisters, Grey Knights, Necrons, Tau, Eldar,
So that's at least
right?
five
Like
already. Yeah.
5 or 6, and you're like,
Mm,
cool, all right. Well, they kind of do a similar thing,
yeah.
you know. And then there's a couple of people in there that obviously I needed a shooting list. So
Mm,
there's 2 Soulforge war packs lists in
yep.
there, so that'll be interesting.
Mhm.
I would assume that they would be Forge Friend heavy, and yeah, so that's interesting. Because they also compete. Renegades, I think, competes um,
Mm.
a little bit with the Votan, which is the next column across.
Yeah. Correct.
Um,
Yes.
Votan is still solid. The
The double land fortress list, I think, it's also
Yep,
very good.
you've got the Zerkers that you can throw in, and then they fight on death, and
Mm.
they're going to trade. Okay, the shooting's there. They're still quite a good shooting army. The
They're also
termi
very fast if they have the bikes.
Yep, they got a buff. They got a stealth buff. They had Jaegers added as a data sheet unit, which gives them a infiltrating unit to screen, which fills in one of their biggest gaps in terms of teams, which is you can't put it into an aggressive world eaters or something because they just get bodied.
Yeah. Correct.
Now they've got Jaegers. They can infiltrate. They can block the scout. So that gives them a little bit there. So there's a few leagues of Votan there as well.
And then even the orcs. Surprising, there are still orcs, like 10 of them. And then now the bully boys are gone. So only one bully boys, one green tide, two green tide rather,
mm.
and then majority are war hordes. So yeah,
Yeah, I played against Warhorde the other night,
okay.
and it was an MSU style Warhorde.
So
Where,
most likely it's still a bully boys list, right? But obviously using a detachment of war horde, is it?
well, like 5-man knobs
Mm-hmm.
type units instead of having 10-man bricks. So
Mm-hmm.
like a couple of mega knobs with gas.
Yeah, with gas, yes.
Yeah, three MSU knobs units with war bosses in trucks. a big orc unit with the jump, so you can like do some shenanigans.
Yeah.
Squig Hog boys. I put a unit of Death Company into Foot Death Company into a unit of Squig Hog boys. It's actually a very interesting matchup for the Blood Angels because we both have 2 CP Fight on Death.
Fight on Death, yep.
So it's it's who uses their Fight on Death and engagement better and pile in. 1 CP Heroic Intervention they love because they can set up some really nice Heroic Intervention plays. Flash Gits still pick up Space Marine bodies.
Flash Gits still good, yep.
So, they've still got some good units, and I think that, that's still quite a viable pick. We skipped over a few good ones. So, Guard.
Guard?
What do you
or
think?
Death Guard?
No, Astra Militarum.
Is there any Astra Militarum here? Oh, there.
Yeah.
Oh, 11, yeah. I don't know the playstyle now with guards, so this probably would be a tank heavy one with lots of probably those Scions, some Karsikins, and then obviously less indirect already. So I played this one as well. Like last night, I did a practice against Alex. So he has like 3 or 4 Liman Rasses, 1 Dorn, Rogal Dorn, and then just lots of chaff units to play the mission. So it was also a good game. Like I also drew that game 80 all against him. So I think that's the style that we would see now with guard.
Yeah,
but then they are not as oppressive as before in terms of limiting your movement.
I've seen quite a lot of those lists that have like 3x6 Bullgren, like 18 Bullgren.
Bullgrens, yes.
And you Bullgrens, tank commanders, Lehman Rush demolishers.
Yeah.
But I think that also competes. That list archetype now kind of competes with a few other places.
Yeah, correct. That's why it's a bit tough after the 5-6 main faction for a team.
And then there's a healthy spread of Jakari. We saw in my team on Kyle's list on the weekend. There's definitely a place in your strategy for a Sky Splinter or a Real Space. Three units of Scourge with Haywire and a Dark Lance is a lot of damage to a lot of armies. Lilith still picks up units very well, and then it just depends on how rest you want to play the rest of the army, whether you want to do MSU Cabalites or you want to do Incubi Spam with Archons. The Vect ability, we haven't talked about that yet.
Oh yes, correct.
They have Archon Vect, so they can take that, hop that unit in and out of a transport, protect that Vec aura quite well. I played against on the weekend. One of my Space Wolves opponents had Bjorn.
12 inches bubble.
Yeah, sitting in the center. And that was very effective. I was actually very impressed on how long Bjorn lasted. In that matchup and doing that. Just in little things like making the 1 CP really good heroic intervention now 2 CP.
Yep.
Right? Like that is a massive impact. Reroll charges. All that kind of stuff that you kind of take for granted.
That's one of my favorite change actually in this 10.5 was the Vec is now like, no more battle line. So everything you can Vec as long as you're 12 inches from that particular character, then your 1 CP is now 2 CP, or 2 CP is 3 CP. So now your CP is so expensive.
Yep. And World Eaters, World Eaters, what can you say about World Eaters? They're the same. Whether you take Corn heavy lists, 8-bound heavy lists,
or Mr. Anchoron,
They're not particularly multi-dimensional, right? They've got one dimension. They charge your face. They scout a whole bunch. It's very hard to not be charged anywhere turn 1. If they get a good blood dice roll, corn dice roll, the 8-bound.
Especially on a tipping point. Especially on a tipping point. And obviously search and destroy deployment. Like,
Yep, it's
oh, I'm there already.
very surprisingly short. You know, it's very easy to get that feel no pain. You know, the 8-bound go from a 6 up to a 5 up. The cow spawn, if they take him, go from a 5 up to a 4 up. They're very deceptively hard to move. So there's still a place there. You know, when you have, if you know, a strategy where you have a defender that's really susceptible to an aggressive army, and if you have World Eaters and Blood Angels, right, and you're like, which one would you like? You know, which aggressive army would you like?
Choose which one to die.
Yeah, that's right. And that being able to pencil like that is very important.
Yeah, it's very good.
In a team's setup. Death Guard. Death Guard are in a very interesting place. I saw on the weekend a lot of these CSM lists had units.
Ally.
Yeah, 5-man Plague Marine units allied, which is interesting.
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah, and then we get to your favorite, Laurence.
My new favorite, Chaos Knights. I'm very surprised. There's only 8. So I thought, I think last year, right? So one of the faction which has a lot of representation was last year Chaos Knights, Eldari, and Custodes.
Well, I mean,
now you see that
it's hard to go past Chaos Knights as your stat check, right? There are just armies that have trouble dealing with all tanks. As I found out on the weekend twice, primary is very hard to hold against.
Yes, against
because they are
OC8
per base, right? So even, you know, in most armies, so my strategy with my list, right, was going in, taking 2 of my Catan, whether it's the 2 Transcendent or not, putting them in the middle, and then being cool. Like, you've got 2 Catan at O2C. What are you going to do about it?
But sorry,
that's one model.
Yeah, that's just one model from CK.
One model to tie for CK. So, you know, it's and they're all battle line, so they do the missions well. They do.
Yeah.
They have access to the secret mission pretty easily. You can kind of take. You can pick whichever your poison is, really, from the secret mission perspective. I think they do suffer a little bit from later game running out of like you want to be doing damage with your pieces, but then they're the things that are doing your actions and things like that. So secondaries can be hard.
So you need to, I think, depends obviously on your playstyle, but yeah, like what I learned in the past, you know, like especially this event. So I tend to be a bit cagey first with them, especially for the first 2 rounds, because yeah, you need to do your secondaries, and at the same time, if you would go for the secret missions, and then you would always ask your opponent, do you have a battle line? So if they don't have a battle line, then you already have an obvious choice of the one of the secret mission, right? Wherein one of your battle line unit must be in your opponent's deployment zone, or something like that. And then so because if you go like if your go turn is turn 2, turn 3, and then you have lots of battle line, and then obviously just stage properly, it's very difficult to kill like even 2, 3 knights in one turn.
Yep. Matt Osbox from chat says guard tank commander vect enhancement is sneaky good. I think, I can imagine that it is. Being able to put the vect enhancement on something that's tanky, and kind of sit it in a central position. You know, I can imagine that kind of like the Bjorn, Bjorn. It works really well on him, on that character, because it's a Dreadnought chassis with half damage and a feel no pain. It's kind of like a mini Catan, right? So it can sit in the board and survive, you know, to get that value. I imagine the tank commander probably could do, you know, something similar. Admech. What did you think of Admech on the weekend?
Well, obviously, it's still a pain, like in the ass if you're another player. Apart from the obviously, like let's say Alexander Anglisas, right, which is like the dad mech of the ad mech, so he would really be able to manage his time. But obviously, for those other players playing, because now, yeah, so obviously they said they had buffs, so they will still now be playing the same Skitari Hunter, wherein you will just put a lot of bodies. But the problem, I believe, is I think it's still the same. So I think it's also like the you see in WTC only six of them took them. So maybe I think they see the same problem where if I would just flood the board, why not do the like the wolf jail or a very aggro list of because this one wound count of okay the vanguards of less than one OC, then just try to just blast them off with all your blast weapons, and then they would also just die.
Mm.
So even if you pay one CP to have them 5+ feel no pain, that is just for one unit. So yeah, they would have an early, like board presence or board control in the first two rounds, but then they would also just easily fall because of their number of wound counts, and then obviously the toughness mostly are just T3 bodies. So
So what do you think? What role do you think they play in terms of a team format? Like, how would
uh
you use them?
so I think you would just use them as a not necessarily a mirror, but for those horde army, like I think it would, like it would do well even against sisters who trades in a lot of bodies, probably even Drukari. So obviously, as long as you properly stage, make sure of those charge range or even angles for those shooting. So because yeah, they have lots of body that they can trade. So yeah, I think that's their role is to also be playing like even orcs. I think they would be good counter also for orcs. So that's how I see them being played in teams environment. But in terms of singles, yeah, they would definitely have a hard time.
Shout out to the one Red Zone.
Yeah, Mr. I believe Mr. Ben Ashton also played a Raz Zone last weekend as well. So
Let's talk about your banana boys,
the Banana
Lawrence.
Boys, you see now
Not a large showing, not a large representation of Custody Bros.
from heroes became zeros. Apart from yeah, they said they gave them good buffs, and this is the good buffs. You see six representation only. But then obviously the popular is still Shield Host because I think it's still the best detachment out of the what three detachment only because I don't count the sisters detachment because it's nothing. But yeah, Shield Host is
It's
crit
the
hits
Rhino
of five.
detachment. It's the Rhino detachment.
It's the Rhino detachment. Yeah, it's the Rhino detachment. Yeah, so crit hits of five is still very good. But as I've said, I think earlier, because yeah, I considered playing them, but then yeah, they would actually suffer in terms of the Pariah Nexus mission play. So no
Um,
wonder only 16 actually took them.
do you think they're a better singles list than they are a teams list?
I think so. The teams they can do something, but obviously probably this is a mid tier faction that can go good in mid table. But don't count. I mean, the best team in the world, Team Poland, is having a Custodes player. So I'm very keen and interested to see how he actually or they use that particular list or faction in their pairings.
Yeah, it's kind of like how World Eaters have a very specific role.
Mm.
I think Custodies have a very specific role, and they can
Mm.
do like there's some lists that I can't think of how like for
Uh,
example AdMech, right? Like if you can find a weak link, right,
mm.
where you can abuse the defensiveness of the wardens and the killiness of being able to take double it's both sides of the Qatar, right?
Mm.
And get those exploding fives all the time. That's Shield Host, right? Where you get the
Yeah, that's
exploding
just shield host.
fives.
Yeah, crits hits on five.
Yeah,
So you can choose between the crit hits on fives or the additional AP, but obviously you would always choose crits hits on five. So
yeah.
yep.
That's so strong because you get like one model
Mm.
And whether you take the Terminators, or whether you take the Alaris, or whether you take, Guard and Wardens,
Mm.
1 or 2 models can pick up a unit of Orcs, can pick up,
Yeah, I
a unit
remember
of
one of my
Eldar.
game. I think it was against Alex. So a 3-man Venetary, bro, like survived the whole game. Only
Mm,
one model dying
yep.
because of because Venetary can fall back, shoot and charge, and then they are very fast and tanky as well. And then as you said, crits hits on 5s and 6s. One Venetary alone can finish one squad of whatever chaff infantry they're facing.
I'll cheerleader that game, Ed, when you line it up against you. Just some shade happening in chat there.
Yeah.
And let's commentate that game. That'd be pretty good, I reckon.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play his
Yeah,
team.
so September teams event. Obviously, you and me would probably be doing the commentating in that because we are not allowed to play. So
I'm not allowed to play. Well,
so we
I mean, if you, I'm sure that if I kicked up enough of a fuss and and found another commentator, but yes, we'll be covering the event. So I'm looking forward to
yeah.
that. Getting back into the chair for a few games. Demons. We saw a couple of demons on the
Yeah.
weekend. Only what, 5?
Four. Four of them.
Four of them.
Yes.
Nobody seems to rate them in the teams format, or don't know quite.
Maybe they are just spiced up with the the 6 inches shadow of terror aura or something. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I think it's I would say it's a fun faction to play, but in terms of obviously I don't know about the competitiveness that they can bring in a team's format of 8. So I'm not sure, but I think demons. They are fun to play with. So that's all I can think of.
Yeah, I think on paper their buff was quite nice. Being able to kind of get that mini Bellacore effect from your greater demons, kind of makes you then want to play the greater demons more,
Mm,
and means that you're not locked into auto picking Bellacore Bellacore every time. But I think it still suffers from their big, really expensive demons. Outside of like Uncleaned or Rodigus,
yep.
are still not quite tough enough, right? They just if you get a good connect into them, they still die like 350 point units still die
Yeah.
like 100 point units, right?
Mm.
So I think in teams there may be a little bit of a liability. Gus played.
No. Gus played World Eaters.
Gus played World Eaters. So somebody played.
It's you Titchener, who played
Yeah,
the Chaos
you
Demons.
played Demons. So
Yeah.
and then we've got languishing
Last one.
down the far right side of the spreadsheet. Chat.
It's one of my favorites as well. Imperial Knights.
Imperial
Only two of
Knights.
them.
Well, given the state of Imperial Knights versus
The Chaos Knights.
Chaos Knights, one of the big differences, I think, in Imperial Knights still have a place like Chaos Knights do in a team's list. I think if you to pick between the two, because you needed to fill that slot, I think Chaos Knights are unfortunately still better. And in 8-man teams, you can kind of deal with it a little bit better.
Yep.
Whereas in 5-man teams, it's a bit hard to avoid. So
Yes, correct.
I think they do a little bit better in 8-mans, and they probably do a little bit better in singles.
Yep.
But obviously the good players, the players that are better than us, Laurence,
Yes.
don't rate the Imperial Knights very highly at the moment.
Yes. I mean, like, I think for Imperial Knights, right, especially the bigs, I think the bigs are better than the counterpart in CK.
Yeah, definitely.
And then obviously the Armiger variants or the War Dogs, it would be the CK. Because, yeah, they granted the big knights to be moving through walls. And then you see CK already does that. right, with the small dogs, and with the CP rather. So with how dense the terrain maps in WTC, so obviously it would still favor the CK compared to the, yeah. So I also don't, like, I'm not surprised with only two. We should actually be seeing zero Imperial Knights rather than two. But yeah, they maybe these teams have a specific play style or plan for them. So good
Yeah,
for them.
the Lancers and stuff came that the
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Canis and Lancer, they are still, I think, like they would be the main core or the main unit of the Imperial Knight list.
yeah, if you've got a situation where you need a high toughness aggressive list where you can kind of put the Lancer and Canis in the middle of the board and threaten, a very large wide area, and they can get through walls now, and Canis still hits like a truck,
Yeah,
Lancer still hits like a truck.
and
You
very tough as well.
can sticky objectives and things like that, right? So,
Mm.
um, it's, but when you can pick what they go into to a certain extent, then it's a lot less threatening.
It's a bit limited, yeah.
Yeah, like I can see,
And then yeah, just
I
sorry.
I can see like, saving your. We've seen a lot of like Tau guard elder, um, shooty type lists, leagues, right?
Mm.
I would imagine that if you put your leagues and you waited to see where the knights were going, and then if you could pincer with like a Tau and Votan for example, I think probably in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, correct.
And then,
Last but not the least,
yeah,
so this was a bit I mean, like,
I,
heartbreak not seeing any GSC.
I remember a bit story time with Carl here, chat a little bit, sitting around in a hotel room out in country, South Australia at an event that we have down here called Terracon.
Okay.
When we were sitting around the night of the first day, right? We'd had dinner, we'd go home, and the GSC leaks came out.
Okay.
And so we were sitting around, this story, Lawrence. We were sitting around
Yeah.
looking for videos and looking for GSC links and leaks, and our colleague, our venerable team member, Ed, was very, very disappointed. We spent a lot of time trying to find good stuff.
But there he goes. He's online.
Yeah, trying to find good stuff, and unfortunately, it was one of those things. Poor GSC, yeah, one of those things that when you spend a lot of time trying to find ways to make the lists work, and I'm sure, don't get me wrong, that there are definitely probably faction specialists out there that are cooking lists that are doing well in
Their
other
own
formats,
tournaments. Yeah.
in other formats and singles and all that stuff, and I'm sure that there's a way to make it work. But the WTC Teams World has declared that you shall see no GSC. There is none. None will be seen at WTC. So,
Well, Ed is retiring his Tau, so he will try and find ways on how to play his GSC again. So make GSC great again, Ed.
well,
Come
there
on.
you go. Challenge to there. So,
So I think you have an event this coming. Was it August that you're also attending with him? I'm not sure if he has bought the tickets. The 1 day RTT somewhere in Box Hill. Was it?
yeah.
Is that the
So,
one?
there's a bit of a funsy event happening here locally, done by the Nunawading, hosted by Miscast Misfits
Misfits.
and
Yeah.
and the Nunawading Wargamers Association down here. Bit of a one day RTT.
One
So
day, yeah.
take a bit of fun. Get some actual Warhammers in these bones before I shift back into teams and open and annual and all the other fun events that we're going to be doing for the back half of the year. And obviously, you guys are going to Belgium pretty soon, so
Yes.
So yeah, so anything like hobby wise you're working on at the moment, Mr. Lawrence?
No hobby. I'm just busy with all the uh just busy preparing for the WTC. So my only hobby is to play. I can't paint. Uh, I can build, but I don't paint. So my hobby is just to play. So
Your hobby is
you'll always see me playing.
making lists and buying models so Ed can paint them for you.
That is correct. So, but yeah, so now Ed is playing. He's going back to his GSC, and then this coming Heresy, I'll be playing the Tau finally.
Yes, for those that don't know, there's a fun beer hammer style event that happens out of Geelong, which is out of a
Geelong Heresy.
regional city centre out here in Victoria, where it's a 3K onslaught.
3K, yes.
Funsies, rule of 4 instead of rule of 3 type event. They have custom missions and all that kind of stuff. So it's quite not necessarily narrative, but it's very fun.
Yeah.
I am working on Monster Mash. I had so much fun on Catan Monster Mash that I'm going to bring back. I'm bringing back.
So how many Catans this November?
7.
7 Catan.
Normally 7 would be illegal, but because the rules of this particular event, it is not.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've got a couple of Transcendent that need painting up. And then just playing a bit of Blood Angels. Nice to get. It's good to have get some success, a little bit of success on the Necrons, and for a teams event, and go back to some Blood Angels and do that kind of stuff. So. Yeah, so we're ticking over. We're nearly at an hour and a half.
An hour and a half.
Hopefully,
so
chat
you enjoyed our chat. So
yeah, if you've got any questions or you got any feedback, we're looking to do a few more of these a little bit regularly. So hop on our Discord, send us a message, let us know if you had any feedback, what you like, what you didn't like, or if there's something that you'd like us to cover off. Thanks again to our sponsors. So Proxywars, we have Baron of
Dice Arcade,
in Hobby Gear in New South Wales up there, and we have General Games, Frankston, Malvern, Churnside Park, down here in Victoria. And then we have Mr. Waggas over at Miniature Scenery, who helps us out with a lot of our terrain. Will be featured heavily at our events that are coming up soon. Do you want to one last spruik of those events, Lawrence?
Yeah, so again, September 21st, 22nd, Teams event, 5-man Teams event in Manningham Hotel. So come and join us. It would be fun. So we're looking for at least 10 teams. And then obviously our main event for the year would be the Risky Rollers Open, 2nd, 3rd, 4th of November. That's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday is the Melbourne Cup weekend. So 3-day event, come and join us and we will have fun.
Yep. And obviously we can't do this without you guys chat. Like and subscribe, press the buttons.
Ding, 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 ding.
Let us know, throw us your support, and hopefully we'll see you all next time, either on our next podcast or at our next event, streaming some Warhammer.
Yes, so probably next week we'll try to invite spoiler, maybe
some guests.
Not yet confirmed, but we will be trying to invite some WTC player. People.
We'll see.
Let's see.
We'll see. We know some people on the coaching panel, so we'll see if we can get some arms twisted and see who we can.
And then force them. Come on, we need you to talk.
All right.
But I believe because for War Master, I think the submission of the list would be this Sunday. That's the deadline. And I think the making the list public of the WTC would be the 22nd. I'm not pretty sure, but once the list is out, it would be definitely very nice to talk to some of the WTC players, especially like Dean as the team captain. So we'll try to get a hold of him.
Yep, cool. All right. I'm going to try to press some buttons and
Yes.
wrap it up. And
Thank
we'll
you very
see
much,
next
Mr.
time.
Carl. Thank you
Thanks
very much
Thanks
to everybody.
Lawrence. We'll
Thank
catch you
you.
next time.